for the fourth time. Hi, welcome to NN Broadcast. I am your host, Kandice, and this would be episode number 1. It's taken a long time for me to get here in this particular place and time to be able to talk to you guys now about my true enjoyment of utilizing astrology as a tool. This tool has helped me navigate my life in the past 7 years. It's giving heavy Seven of Pentacle energy and tarot. It's giving hard work is just the beginning. In order for you to continue your pentacles, your new foundation. So I'm excited for you guys to really hear how astrology has helped me grow into the woman you see today. So welcome to NN Broadcast. NN stands for North Node. Mine just so happens to be in Pisces. And it is the full moon in Virgo. And we're in Pisces season. So to me, it felt very fitting for this North Node girly to talk about this topic as the first one. It feels very aligned for me spiritually and astrologically. I feel like releasing this final piece to my story will truly allow me to move forward, and it's also a learning thing for you as the listener or the watcher right now, because in some capacity there's something about you that you also are noticing that either needs to be released, confronted. I don't know, but I think me sharing this story, my experience in the last 3 years specifically, is going to help you understand certain things about yourself. So buckle up, buttercup, because this is going to be our first episode. And last year of May 2023, I realized that I didn't want to be a mother. But I never really captured those dots until then. And it only happened because of the final lunar eclipse that happened in May of 2023. Astrology's a motherfucker. And if you allow yourself to really utilize this tool in a way to help you navigate, it will push you in so many different ways that you didn't have or thought could be a capability for you, if you will. And this is why I kind of want to talk about it, because I am a Scorpio sun. The lunar eclipses last year was all about the Taurus and Scorpio axis, the energy that they both possess, and what are you releasing and what are you embracing. This just so happens to reflect on my Scorpio energy, and this really reflected my ego, which is my sun energy. It is what is being perceived outright, about me is this. And the egos and the different hats that come along with being a Scorpio. Scorpio was just not in my sun sign, it was also my Venus sign. So my Venus energy, my feminine energy was being activated in this 2-year period that we experienced this energy of eclipses. So a lot of my stuff was reflected off of me changing due to the stars above. And I couldn't ignore that. I had to allow myself to go through that process, because it literally is going to and will be teaching me something that I may not think or know that is important. But if I just Scorpio energy transform into whatever this new individual, this new higher self I'm becoming, then I need to give myself that period. I need to give myself that space to actually activate this thing that truly needs to be rebirthed within me. And this just so happened to be related with me and my mother hat. my mother wound, sometimes my spiritual gifts a little bit. But this was also in my third house. So this is communication, which is literally my Chiron, Gemini, and a lot of healing on communicating regarding how I feel about sad spaces in my life. And the big one was a mother. But before we get into that, I really want to make sure that you guys understand the basis of astrology, because this is how you really see or can acknowledge astrology in your own life, even if you haven't really dived into it. So let's dive into what is astrology and the differences, and how you can look at your own natal chart to really pinpoint certain things if you're trying to learn more about self. Astrology. This is something really beautiful. There is something mystical about what's up there. Not gonna lie, it does scare the crap out of me to think there's just vast of dark and cold. Yeah, that's a past life here. But to think that, we're not the only ones out there, or, that sense of we're the only ones is insane to me. So when I started to learn what astrology is, I remember I think one time somebody said to me, like, Candace, you're a Scorpio. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. So then I looked it up and I was like, oh, I am kind of like this energy, like my personality is like that. And I started to really dive in a little bit deeper, but not so much to the context of what I do today. So astrology consists of the stars above. There are 12 different zodiac signs that correlate to, or 13, that correlate to the different seasons of the year. Each one has its own personality, its traits, its energy that it brings forth, that allows evolution and growth and death and growth, evolution. They all play out to a season. They all play out different energies, but they all collectively go together like a piece of a pie. Speaking of a piece of pie, there are 12 houses in astrology, and this is basically a circle with one line crossing it in the middle like a horizon. The line that is representing in the circle is your ascendant. So this is your rising sign. And then it goes into 12 different houses. Each 12th house has its different energy that it possesses. So I'm not going to talk about that. You guys can Google that if you like. And within those houses, there are the planets that are up in the sky. They also represent its own energy into this whole equation that's placed within these houses. There's not only planets, but there's asteroids. There is beautiful articulate things that make sense up there, that helps you kind of narrow down or get someone's personality trait, or learn how they love, or learn how they want to fight, or how do they want to heal. Like, it's all categorized in a way that will allow you to kind of understand your own natal chart in itself, because everyone's birth chart is different. Your birth chart is not going to be the same as someone else. You may have the same zodiac sign as the planet within the house, but the degrees are probably going to be different. There's going to be something that's not 1,000% accurate. You know what I mean? So, astrology in that way is just so beautifully intricate, and it's a beautiful tool for you to utilize yourself in different ways. So, my tip number one for maybe helping you understand your astrology placement is to take one at a time. Now, what you can do is go to Google and just type in literally astrocharts.com. You choose whichever one you feel good with. I personally have used these two, which I don't remember right now on the top of my head, but I will make sure to put it in the comments down below. But I personally use these ones, and when you use these charts, they can be very complicated looking, But if you allow yourself to not get stuck on which chart you're using and just allow yourself to kind of take, again, one piece at a time, you will start to understand certain things about yourself. Now, in regards to this tip, there is a bit of an understanding for you to understand the different types of charts that you can utilize in astrology. There is literally hundreds and thousands of different charts for you to utilize. One of the ones that I know that a lot of people ask questions about are the tropical astrology, sidereal astrology, and verdict. And this is how I categorize it, and this is what chart I use personally. I learned that verdict astrology is like going to college, like getting your PhD in astrology. There's way more intricacy and depth and knowledge that comes with verdict that if you give yourself time to really learn it, oh, you'll learn a crap ton of astrology. Way more than anyone, I believe, because it's, to me, is the chef kiss of astrology. I just personally haven't dove into that kind of way to learn astrology, especially my first time of learning it. I feel like, again, that's like you're getting your PhD, so that means you've gone to school for this numerous times and you're really learning heavy Saturn energy. Okay. And then there's sidereal. Now, sidereal is the charts that were originally made in the Egyptian time frame culture. They're the ones that captured the stars, got all the information, and laid it out for Egyptians and other individuals of cultures to really utilize to their benefit when it came to different seasons, different energy, magic. Okay, they use the stars above for a lot of intricate things. And then there is tropical. Now, this is where things get interesting because Greece, they came to Africa where the Egyptians were, and they, kind of took that and made it to something of their own. In the midst of all that, which they admitted, so if you need to fact check me, go ahead and do so. But there's evidence that they stole this but made it into their own, which, not surprised. But at the same time, like they made their own version and they kind of washed it down. So that's tropical astrology. Then it just gets a little bit worser. It gets worse, a little bit worse when it came to American really tapping into it. It really dumbing it down again. So when I learned the difference between the two, I personally decided to learn more about the sidereal side of astrology. This is personal to me because I personally have seen my past life in Egyptian time. I have gotten different spiritual teachers that are from that time, and from my own spiritual family, they're telling me learn this astrology. So that's the astrology I've learned. This is what I used for my own clients when I was taking clients at the time, doing as a spiritual healing coach for feminines, or feminine coach. I utilize sidereal for my clients for them to really understand the true depths of their placements, and it clicked more for them than it did tropical. So there's a reason why I use sidereal. So when I really started to learn more about astrology, it was me taking one piece at a time. So I got tons of books at Barnes and Noble, and I started to really dive into just learning about the planets and what they possess without me even learning about the astrology placements first. Because I felt like that was really important for me to really understand the essence that those planets in itself really are bringing out. And then I dove into the different types of zodiac signs, what seasons, what they bring, the elements, the colors, the other things that they're related to, like chakras or tarot cards, crystals. I was really diving to each one and really understanding why these things and how these things just amp up your own personal energy as well, because it's all interchangeable. Crystals are part of the earth element. I can go on and on about things like this, but just specifically, I'm learning about astrology and I'm tying in these different elements on top of it, which just is just beautiful that I'm able to do that just by looking at astrologer or astrology as the main tool. Okay. So again, I'm a Scorpio sun, so I was really learning more about what does Scorpio energy represent, plus the sun energy. What does that really mean for yourself in in this day-to-day vessel. And then on top of that, it was adding in the house that it was placed in. So my Scorpio sun is in the third house, as I mentioned earlier. I really learned a lot about my communication sometimes was scary because I didn't realize that my gifts were tied to that. Gifts meaning I'm clairaudient, so I hear other people's thoughts unintentionally. I used to be and still am very telepathic. I can hear things, I can transmit thoughts to other, especially to my son. Sorry, Isaiah. It kind of freaked him out a couple times doing that. But like I learned that my spiritual gifts are connected to communication. So whenever I was with someone, whether it was a friend or a personal relationship, I knew when that person was really thinking, but they were talking something different. Like I just immediately knew that they were lying to me. And even though I couldn't prove it, my gut was saying something else. And it was my spiritual gifts just subconsciously tapping into this individual and their other truths in that. Are they really being truthful? Can I trust them? Are they, and then not only that, but also like, what am I hiding? Because I don't want to verbally tell my life to someone that I know their energy already is saying something different. So it was very interesting for me to just learn that about the sun. And then on top of that, right, it's my personality, it's how I come off. I do come off that way. It just makes sense when you break it down like that, analytical. And by the way, I'm a Virgo rising, so this is me analytical, analyzing myself and putting that in a computer or putting that in a file. And I can communicate, I can type, I can literally write out what these traits and energies are doing for me. And I can spell it out like, yep, yep, that's right, check it off. Like, that's my personality for sure. And that's just my sun sign. Now, let's take a look at the fact that I'm a Libra moon. My Libra moon was in the second house, which is off of value and worth, money, like the work I do with money. So, with my house being in a Libra moon, a lot of my partnerships and worth and value as self was really hard for me to understand. Like, I always communicated and sometimes my truthness in my relationships because Libra rules the seventh house. The moon is feminine, it's mothering, it is suffocating, it is healing, it is possessive. These are also the same kind of traits of Libra, destructive, but also thorough and concise and sharp, beautiful, because it's Libra. I'm ruled by Venus. This is essence, my ajaja, and tapping into that and also relearning and loving my body in this second house, that worth value. Like there's so much I've learned about that. And then having that communicated over the relationships in my life, like, does this person really value me the way that I value myself? But how can I do that if I don't value myself? How can I live up to that energy? And just to wrap it up with my understanding my ascendant sign, like I mentioned earlier with the pie, my ascendant sign is Virgo. So Virgo is my first house. That's also my self reflection. It's also how I see myself throughout the day, my day to day life. That analytical, perfectionist, analytical individual that's very earthy, though, wants to be comfortable, but like, you know what I mean? Like, tell me this right now is not excluding not only kind of Virgo energy, but also like Libra-esque. I'm myself. This is my vibe. This is the thing that is, you know what I mean? So I can literally keep going on. But I'm trying to say is that when you just take like one sliver of what you're trying to learn about astrology and pertain it to yourself, you'll see so many similarities that it's so beautiful, it's intricate. And then on top of that, when it comes to astrology, there's different like angles that create more in-depth things. There are more intricate connections you can utilize. There is astrocartography that allows you to see just by your birth placement where it would be best for you to get more love or to experience more action or career, or this area is going to help you be more mentally clear. Like, it literally shows you just by the earth placements where you should go for that. Like, astrology is insane. And particularly with this episode, I want to talk about the energy that I experience with the eclipses and how that Scorpio energy related to my femininity. I never really thought or wanted to be a mom ever. And I was into situations that made me think differently about motherhood. I had to have an abortion my first go around, and that was very traumatic for me and that devastated me. So then when I got pregnant with Isaiah, it was a like no brainer. Like, of course I'm having this. Like, with or without this person, I there's no way I can do that again to myself. And so I took on that hat at that moment, regardless. I made a vow in that moment, regardless. And I didn't realize how much I changed so much of my life that I was giving up, and how much I would later on feel like I'm doing all these other things that don't align to what I really wanted to do. What I really wanted to do back then was what I was doing, which was in fashion school. And I was learning communications and fashion. I was doing both at the same time because I really wanted to be in fashion PR. I love that energy of go go, but meeting other people and the way fashion is and the way that you can make art from it. And I just fell in love, and I gave that all up when I got pregnant. And I took on a different identity that I didn't know how much was going to lay on thick for me. So, in the midst of me doing these, I'm pushing myself into things I didn't want to do. I didn't want to get married, but I was told to. I didn't want to get divorced, but I felt like I had to. I then trickled down to different relationships that either helped me because I was pregnant and had a kid, or not pregnant and had a kid, but just like having my kid, or I'm luring myself to other individuals because that's what I thought my value and worth were. So this is just years. Fast forward to when I actually go into in my spiritual awakening, I start to really understand what motherhood means to me. And I had to really look at what my childhood was. And what my childhood was for me was not beautiful like I thought it was. There's a lot of things that was being kept from me by my own brain, that it wasn't until I started to really journal or do meditations and things that help open up those blockages that allowed me to push forward. But then it led more questions because I was trying to understand, but why do I always feel balanced with what I feel? Like, it sucks that it feels that way, but okay, shouldn't I be more mad? Shouldn't I be more angry? And that's when I heard astrology, and that's when I started to really learn about my Libra in the moon sign. It also led me to understand, in order for me to heal these emotions, that balancedness of self, that justice that I always feel like I never get. I always feel like I'm getting shifted by individuals my entire life in some capacity. And me understanding that concept made me understand why I think the way that I think, and how sometimes in order for me to really move on from something, I have to feel balanced in it both emotionally and mentally, and that literally is Libra in a moon sign. I have to be balanced in both in order for me to move forward. Things in that nature. That's just like one little thing. And when it came to this ego of me being a mother, I had to really let myself feel both sides, because in society, even myself, family, there's this judgment where you have to be that mom, which means you sacrifice a lot, which is what I saw from my own mother. But I really didn't understand I was recycling her life in this way. It's just with different picture, different names. And it made me really understand that I love my babies. I love my two kids, But at the same time, I also didn't want to be a mom. I love the moments that we have and have grown and experienced together because you not only taught me something, but I also taught you a lot of things. And those growth periods, we've learned how to navigate a change in the household that pushed us all in different directions. And I'm grateful for all of that. But I also wish I never had to experience all of those things because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have chosen to live in a town specifically for my son when my son's not even here. I chose to do that because I put that hat on. I put everything above anything for my son, which duh, rightfully so, but at the same time I mitigated what I wanted to do to come all the way here, and then when I get here, he's not even here. So I'm stuck in this town for what? Right? That's something that I had to look at myself and say, well, this may not have been the best thing, but this is what happens when you're choosing a path that seems to always tell you you shouldn't have been on this path. And I had to admit that. Like, damn, like I wish I hadn't. Saying it sucks and it's brutal, but that's part of that eclipse energy. It is purging. I remember being in that moment and like crying but laughing because it's one of those things where you're just like, fuck, like it feels so good to say. And now that I say it, like, why did it take me so long to just say it? Now that I can say it, I can really start to understand it. So mentally, I did it right. Like, me, first of all, just throat chakra, like opening my mouth and just saying the word vomit of, I didn't want this, to really then be able to mentally start to journal and write down, meditate on that specific thing, like why. Like my Virgo rising sign, like I'm always trying to figure out the why though. So I'm like, why? And then by me understanding the why, it allowed me to understand the emotion behind it. Because again, I'm a Libra moon. So understanding the other side of it and allowing myself to go through certain things to process that emotions, like different videos I was watching, looking at different photos that I've had of me and my son and the things that I had to let go, like the things I'm letting go when it comes to being a mom and sacrificing so much. It came to a realization for me in those moments that I can look now at these photos and videos and not cry or feel lonely or feel like a failure because I finally have allowed myself to feel better and free and okay with what it is emotionally, which then physically I'm feeling it differently. Like as soon as I started to purge that in those ways, physically my body didn't feel so heavy on my shoulders, like that weight. Also my hips, because that's like your root chakra, family values, and that energy started to feel less stiff. I felt like it could still move around a little bit better. Also my sacral, because that's your sexual organ, so that femininity, right? Like that area was very stiff for me until then. So I was feeling all of these things, and it all started with me spiritually connecting to just learning that process of what the Scorpio lunar eclipse from 2023 gave me. It gave me this transformation about me letting go of being a mom. And it's now taking me now here in February to really say, I'm ready for a new chapter and I'm okay. Like I still had to process and heal that shit. Like it's still a lot of energy. And now for the past 2 months, every single time something is brought up or I talk about it, it's not so, like a stab and a dagger to the heart. I no longer feel the opposite either, like really shitty and feeling like I could have done better and then blaming myself because I didn't do better and then claiming guilt because I didn't do better. I've learned a lot and I really have let that go. And it literally all started because of astrology. Me being able to connect these dots in this way helped me really like say, Candice, book 34 through 36 is going to be like this, and I can literally map it all out and give it an ending and a beginning and a middle, it would be this topic. It would be the details that happen and the events in between those years, because it started in 2021. Like this energy, the eclipse from Taurus and Scorpio started in 2021. To be motherfucking specific, my birthday, November 19th, 2021, it started on my motherfucking birthday. So in my birthday, this energy has been propelling me to be in this space right now, which is fucking haha, my boy, because again, we're in Pisces season, and here I am spiritually connecting all the dots to sit here and talk to you guys about this, as this is episode number motherfucking one. I think that's just fucking cool, and the alignment of all of this just really speaks volumes for me, if I'm going to be fucking honest with you, which really ties into why I'm like, I want like the why behind this. It wasn't just for me to Gemini Chiron tell you about my process and communicate it to you on how I've healed, but it's also to provide that knowledge to you so that you too can start to heal certain things or utilize what's above us to help you push through into this new alignment for yourself. It's really fucking beautiful. I do just want to say that we have been entering in the Aries and Libra eclipses that's going to be happening in the next couple weeks. Especially as we enter Aries season, what literally is going to be happening here soon. Aries, I could talk about this all day, but like it's literally a new astrological year. This is really the year for you to be, or the time of the year for you to do New Year's resolutions, because it's a new set where right now in Pisces season is we're getting all that spiritual knowledge and that last bit of downloads before we start a new season, a new year. So this is a great time for you to understand that this eclipses is really going to be pushing you into a me center mode than a we center mode. Meaning Aries is, more about self. It's the first house, it's ego, it is action, it is doing, it is hustle, it is grind. It is putting fire energy behind shit and going with some oomph. Whereas Libra is the opposite. It's partnerships. It's, feeling balanced. It is the opposite. I know for me, right now, I can just tell you like the energy I'm feeling is heavy on the Aries North Node, because I want to focus on self right now. I'm trying to, not try to, I have been working towards doing things and planning my future right now with self in mind for the first time in almost 20 years. So I'm taking those chances on myself, and I'm putting consistency, action behind the things that are going to elevate me. I'm not necessarily worrying about the partnerships or people around me. I'm worrying about Kandice. And I know that may sound very harsh to other people, but I know I have to do this. If I don't do this now, that's the energy I feel. Like I don't do this now, I'm going to regret everything that I've done before, or that I didn't get to do because I did it before. I mean, I've regretted it. And now that I don't have my kids, I've let go that mommy had of that desire to really be a mom in the way that I want to be, the way I for my kids. I've created certain things for my youngest to understand why, which my oldest is going to partake. So it's going to be he and I collectively doing something for his brother. So there's a digital footprint because there currently isn't any form of communication. So the more that I can share that you're not being ignored or not missed, or this wasn't done in a malicious way, so that he can understand, because I know he's going to want that conversation with me. I'm prepping myself for success because this is my truth. And it's not that your mommy didn't want to be a mommy, baby. It's just that every single time I tried, there were roadblocks, and I can't ignore what those roadblocks are, because I'm either going to go in the direction of very much of a depression and not feel like the woman I know I could be, or I can do the opposite and do the things that I said I wanted to do and prove to you that regardless of all the things that I did go through, it didn't stop me from succeeding in this way. And I am sharing this with you because it's out of that sacrifice that this is becoming something beautiful. You know what I mean? So even saying that is beautiful. So, and that's just me really healing that wound. It's really putting a stamp on it because I I know I can continue to try to do everything I can to see and do and be with him as a mother. And this also goes for my oldest. But I'm also not having that be the main focus anymore because I've tried. And right now, I know is the time for me to thrive. Yeah, it really is. With this, I am going to be putting down different resources down below for you guys to start looking into certain placements. I think it'd be pretty cool if you guys were just to say your top three in the comments. Or if you have any questions with a placement, I'd be happy to give you my insight on what those top three things are. Or maybe you're trying to figure out like what how do you heal something, or looking at your north node because also with just getting into the name North Node Broadcast, I came with this name today, and I realized that when I am really in that energy of the North Node, things really have magically just happened for me. Manifestations have happened like that. And my North Node is in Pisces. And I can't ignore that my North Node is in Pisces. It's literally my energy, my vibe, my healing aspect, the connection I have with my spiritual gifts, and just the teachers that I've had, the knowledge that I get to gain. And when I start to utilize that information, these tools, these resources, it propels me in a direction that's super fucking beautiful. So I'm just allowing myself to align to the downloads. And that's how my magic, my energy just has skyrocketed me in that way. So your North Node, understanding that a lot better, allowing yourself to know what your South Node is too, because you got to know the opposite. These things are just beautiful ways for you to understand self. So I would love to know what you guys are leaning towards of learning. I would also love to know what your guys' top three are. And if you guys do, make sure you are subscribing, coming back for episode number 2. I'm excited for the conversations we get to talk about because this is a big one and it feels really good to talk about this. But I felt like we can't talk about North Node energy or just energy in general until we dive into this. And maybe that'd be episode number 2, diving into the North Node and what does that mean for you, and how's that happened for me in the last 5 years. With that being said, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will check you guys out at the next one. Bye.